All right. This is part 2 of our sweet potato cap. We had a little bit of transmission issues, so hopefully this will have cleared it up and we'll be all right to go now. So what's going on? We're back again. So I'm not sure where we left off or where we started freezing. I'm looking here as the comments, but we are trying the sweet potato cap using actual Japanese sweet potatoes that have been cooked. These have been, normally I like to roast them, but this one has been microwaved because it was much more expeditious for time. And we're back. Good to see you, Craig. Kioni, aloha to you. So where did we leave off? Like where did we get caught off? How far along was I, or how far back was I? You just made the cap. You had not, I had not tasted it yet. Wow. Wow, okay, so I made the cap. Oh gosh, we really missed a lot. Okay, so this is the cap. I actually I tasted it. I had made the Necromancer latte art. So I tasted it. So let's taste it again. I think it's lightly sweet. I think in some ways it's sweeter. The sweetness is a little more pronounced than in the Japanese sweet potato itself, mainly because that's probably because the milk, when you're heating the milk, it's going to sweeten the milk naturally, as long as you heat it correctly. And so there's a little bit more sweetness apparent there, but the flavor of the sweet potato is not so pronounced. It's very subtle. So I was thinking, let's do another one. Power Plant says, I didn't see anything when mine froze. You just started. Wow, really? It was that? Gosh, sorry. I don't know what is. Am I grainy? Am I grainy now? Like on my transmission feed, which is of course local here, it looks it's very clear. Unless you mean is the shot looking grainy? The shot looks grainy. Maybe it looks grainy. The Necromancer doesn't look as necromancing as no. I mean it's not as grainy. You mean on the texture? No, it's actually very smooth. What I showed on the part that wasn't sent out is that there are the fibrous material is left behind, right? So the fibrous material is left behind. Now it looks a little bit different here because I have, before I lost you, or before I realized I was talking about, we're going to do another one. I'm going to add more. I'm going to increase the ratio of sweet potato to the milk and mix that in. So by mashing it all together, I think that all of the more soluble, pulpy matter gets suspended in the milk liquid, and then the fibrous material stays behind. And when I'm pouring it, the fibrous material doesn't really get transferred because it's heavier, right? So it stays to the bottom. Or after the swirling of the steaming, it settles to the bottom. Now, another thing that I noticed that I didn't stretch it as much as I wanted to. Like I wanted to have it more stretchy. So we're going to do another round trying it out. Paraplan says, in Korea, we had a winter drink called misugaru. Misugaru. Did I pronounce that correctly? Misugaru, which is a blend of nuts and grains that are blended and milled into a powder. You can mix it with hot water or milk and drink it in the winter. Actually, that sounds quite tasty. You know, sweet potato oatmeal. No, actually, the nice thing about this, and I don't know if I was talking about that, if I said that before, I got cut off from you guys, but at Spro, we were developing an oatmeal, an in-house oat milk many years ago. And we made the oat milk really kind of similar in methods to this, where we took the oatmeal, or took the oats, soaked them in water overnight, and then the next day we strained them out and blended it with some dates to give it some sweetness. And man, it was delicious. It was just a wonderful, wonderful drink that I really liked. And I was like, okay, we can use this in the shop and serve it to our guests. The only problem is we did a test right after, of course, we tasted it cold. And then I put it into a steam pitcher like this, hit it with the steam, and immediately that steam hydrated all of it heated, which I guess causes expansion of the oat particulates. And you know what happens when you heat oats with water or milk? It makes oatmeal, and basically it became oatmeal in here. And I was like, oh, that's not what we want. And then it was then that I realized that, for us to do oatmeal naturally is pretty much impossible. And the only way these companies are able to make oat milk work commercially is that it has to then be heavily processed. And I was like, well, I don't like that at all. It's like, I don't want heavily processed. I'm trying to stay away from heavily processed products for our guests. So that's really why Spro has never had oat milk. Well, I can't say never. We have tried it at occasional points. All right, let's get another mug here. So we're going to try it again and see how it goes. Powerplant says that the misugaru was very yummy and malty. And then, oh yeah, and oat milk is like 1/3 to half oil. Yes, half oil. It's like, gosh, it's so terrible. So terrible. It's very true. That was really my disappointment in the oat milk. I was like the product we had developed or trying to develop at that stage before we steamed it was really, actually, I really liked the taste. I liked a lot about it, the flavor wise. But it was the steam part that I was like, well, that just destroys it. Okay, so let's go back here to the espresso machine and get our. Okay, we're ready to go there. A little bit of too much coffee there. Just get rid of, that's probably still too much. Okay, that's better. So now we're just gonna, maybe that's too little now. I don't know. Maybe that's too little. Okay, that's good. Oh, my scale has turned off. The scale has turned off. We'll see what happens. We'll just see what happens. 604, I think it's like 580, 581, something like that. So like we're at 23, 24 grams, right? Something like that. Right, okay, so let's go back. And yeah, let's lock and load. Let's just lock and load and go for it. And then let's steam up some milk. That's a lot more this time. Although I'm curious, I'm thinking that maybe, yeah. See, I think there's something about mixing in the sweet potato that kind of inhibits the ability for the milk to foam as nicely as I would like, or it could be the milk. Who knows? I haven't really tested this together. All right, let's look at our shot. The shot I think looks very nice. Just the starting of the blonding right there. See, look at that. A little bit. The foam looks strange. I think maybe now I just got too much air, so too much stretching. Look, there's a part of me that wants to pour off a little bit of this. Let's pour off a little bit of that. See if we can get something going on here. Or necromancer too. Yeah, no, there's not enough. Yeah, there's something about the milk that is just not enough. I don't know if, and we should probably, maybe I will do that. Let's, look at that. That's like, this is Doctor Who. That's what it is. All right, so Kelly says, when I was younger, I went to Japan and helped an older relative that made tofu. He ran it by himself, and so I seen how soy milk was made. It's actually tofu without thickeners, at least at his shop. So I'm presuming that they take the beans. So is it they take the beans green, or do they dry it till it's brown, and then they make the tofu, the milk? When I was in 2013, I was hospitalized in Manila. I was there on a trip, and I got ill and had to be in the hospital for 30 days. I had like a knee infection, so I'm in this hospital. And one of the things they wanted me to do is to drink more albumin and like, you know, help the body restore itself. And so my sister-in-law, my brother and my sister-in-law used to live there at that time. They would come to see me, and she would bring she would bring fresh soy milk from the local Chinese guy, and man, it was so good. Like, I really liked that. Like, that fresh soy milk. Like, I don't drink soy milk here, but I'll drink it. I'll drink the heck out of that because it's so nice. Because here, you're getting in a UHT box. Like, what am I going to do with that? Like, that's no good. Okay, so let's look here. All right, looks kind of nice, right? Peter says, how about instead of using hot water for a pour over, use hot milk instead? Oh, that's a good idea. Maybe we should try that. Maybe we'll try that tomorrow. Okay, so there, Naomi, this time, for whatever reason, there was actually some particulate matter that I felt in the back of the throat there. Again, lightly sweet. And honestly, I don't know if this is the best espresso for this drink. Like, this espresso is very cocoa powder intensive, this particular version of this espresso. The new version is not going to be this intense. Actually, I should pull some so we can taste it here. And there is some particulate matter floating around the top. I think that with a sweeter espresso, something maybe with a little more, the typical berry that we normally put in, I think would be a lot better of a drink. Now, one thing I am curious about here is whether or not the, I'm pouring out I was pouring the milk into a paper towel so that I could catch the pulpy matter, so I wouldn't have to put the liquid milk in the trash can, but I'm holding it over the trash can, which is not the way that's defeating my intention. So I have to rewind on that. Okay, but what I'm curious to know is, like, are we having trouble? This is just regular, like, homogenized commercial milk from the grocery store. It's nothing special, right? Nothing specially sourced or anything like that. So what I'm curious to know is, like, is there something about this espresso, this milk? Actually, here's the puck, nice and clean. All right. What we did 2 drinks that had very little foam, more like flat whites, but that was unintentional. I was trying, especially on the second one, I was trying to get as much stretching out of that as possible. So what we're going to do now is we're going to pull one more shot and do one more cappuccino, because I am curious to know, is there an issue with the milk as far as steaming that we need to, well, just to be aware of it. If I was in a normal cafe environment, I would see that happening live and would know that. Okay, so we're ready to go. We're ready to go. Am I ready to go? Oh, there it is. I'm running out of coffee. This may be the last shot because we just don't have any coffee. All right, now this way I'm just going a little bit faster, a little bit less. Let's see how much coffee we have in here now. With that very quick 470. That doesn't make any sense. 470. 604. There we go. Same thing as last time. Huh? Not bad. Not bad. Not bad. Okay, now one more mug. This time I'm going to put the milk in here. Ooh, I'm a little bit under pressure now because the shot is coming out. Okay, that's good. I don't think it's stretching as much as I would like. Okay, let's go here. Not bad looking shot, maybe slightly. That's very bubbly. That looks very heavy. Okay, so maybe there is something. Okay, so maybe there is something about using the sweet potato that inhibits the ability of the milk to stretch. That's the working theory at the moment. Let us see here. So one thing to do if you ever want to go to a coffee shop and really test out the quality, their technical ability with cappuccinos, you take a smaller spoon. Get the demi-tasse spoon, not really this. This is not really the ideal spoon for this. This will give you false readings if it's so big. You mean this is a teaspoon? This is what we used to do at the competitions. We would take the spoon, the demi-tasse, put it in, and pull it back, and see how there's a little bit of reveal there. You should just have a very little bit of reveal. Actually, it's a little bit. I think that's too much reveal. Let's go with the other side of this spoon here. Let's go here. That's not bad. It could be a little bit thicker. Can you see that? It could be a little bit thicker. That doesn't work. Not bad. Not bad. And this is just looking for thickness of the milk in relation of the cream of the foam in relation to everything else. So. See, that's not bad. That's not bad. This is where, like, the cocoa powder character of this particular espresso, I don't think pairs necessarily very well with the sweet potato character, but here with just the milk, it's actually quite nice. It's much nicer as just a straight up cappuccino. Now, I probably should have gone a little bit hotter with it. Like, I think this is just a little bit too cool. Paige, how are you? Good to see you. Good to see you. Naomi says, I love me a tofu shop. There was one near my mom's house, and I also got to see all the different ways people consume. So I have never seen that. I need to go see that. Oh, Karen says they use green beans. Okay, gotcha. Peter says tofu is similar to making cheese. The process is. Okay, gotcha. Power Plant says Chinese soya milk is something you have to have for, yes. Because, like, in my experience, like, you would come and they would put them in those, like, PET bottles like you have for water. 3 days, it was done. Like, you couldn't drink it in 3 days. Like, if you, like, and sometimes they would bring a lot, and I'll be like, man, I can't drink this much soy milk in like a day. Like, it's just too much, right? Especially I'm bedridden, like, I'm all like hemorrhaging and all messed up. I was like, okay, I can't eat. I mean, I was in the hospital for 33 days. 33. Yeah, it was bad. Like, this knee infection that I had just kind of came up like overnight, and I was really debilitated. Like, I couldn't move. Like, I was excruciating pain. Like, I couldn't move. Like, I was a mess. Like, I'm crawling across the floor, trying to go to the bathroom to take a pee in the middle of the night. And I was just like desperate. I was just desperate. It was really a terrible situation. Power Plant says no one does more with soybeans than the China. Oh, agreed. Mom, good morning to you, Mom. Naomi says, I don't enjoy foam, so I never order a cappuccino, hot or cold foam. Ah, okay. I really like, I think that, but I wonder, like, when the foam is done poorly, I think it is a detriment to the drink. But I wonder, like, have you had situations where you've had the cappuccino when it was done, like, really, like, I would not say this is done really well. This is done okay. That's okay. But, like, when it's done really, really well, I think the foam is like, a luxury, it's like a luxuriant component of the drink. Kenny says maybe the sweet potato particulates prevent the milk from creaming. I think you're right with that. I think there's definitely some kind of inhibition by adding this ingredient to it that it is nice and sweet though. Like that is really wow, that's actually really pretty. I'm probably drinking too much milk. So definitely this is better than this. Like that greater proportion of sweet potato to the milk definitely makes it a nicer. Yeah, I like that better. I like that a lot better, actually. And the power plant says, when the foam is spitty, like this. That's all right. Not the best I've ever done. But I also will blame it on the equipment, right? Like this La Valentina just doesn't have enough oomph, right? It doesn't have the oomph of a La Marzocco Linea 2 group, 3 group to really push the milk. What do they say about the person that always blames the tools, never their talent? Yes, that's what we're doing. It's the tool, not the talent. The talent is impeccable. The tool is where the faults are really. It's where we all collapse, right? Although I must say, like, I think to that point, I must say that I do think that to a certain extent, there's some truth to that. Meaning that, like, when you have a seasoned professional, someone that's worked in the field professionally with big professional machines, and they come to a small machine like this, I think it's a little bit more difficult for that professional to make the change to the smaller machine, only because, and what I mean by that is that, like this machine doesn't have the oomph of a big La Marzocco or a big, any commercial machine, right? Those machines, they've got these massive boilers, especially in comparison, massive boilers. So they've got a tremendous amount of steam generating ability to just push out your drinks. And so you're kind of used to that kind of power. So like, so that I think professionals are the ones that have the harder time making the trend, playing around with smaller machines, because you're like, oh, come on. Then you have to really cut. Like I find myself when I'm steaming like this, I'm really trying to find a way to, like, how can I get more technique to get the stretching to happen better, right? Because like you can ride it higher, right? Like you're riding the milk kind of on the edge with the steam on, right? To get that swirling action, to get that injection of air into the milk to create the foam. So you're, in this case, like let's say this last one, I'm riding it pretty long, like way longer than I would normally like to ride it, because I'm trying to compensate for the lack of power, which I think resulted in too much foam production, right? So the foam becomes thicker, drier, and you're just like, oh God, failure, right? So I don't know. It's the tools, not the talent, right? That's what. Maybe that should be the T-shirt. Power Plant says if you added lotus bean gum, it'd probably be okay to steam. Maybe. Oh, I wonder if I've never played with gum additives in milk to help the steam properties. I've actually never even thought about that. That's an interesting thought. He says, where's the Festool espresso machine when you need I know, it's like these Germans, they're so finicky, they're so fickle. They have this new thing where it's like an air scrubber that just came out. It's like $800 and $900 for the 2 different versions. I was like, good Lord, $800 for an air. I got a big fan that has a Merv 11 filter on it that's working fairly well for that purpose. Peter, but of course, their version is much more sexy than my version. Mine looks all like beat up and like put pieced together. Peter says, I use cold brew with a large dollop of cream in the steamer jug. No added milk. Ah, nice. You mean that's for your cappuccino or just yeah. Craig says, blame the equipment. It is the equipment. It's always the equipment. Power Darkland says, future Biff, you gotta have power. You gotta have power. But it's just, there's not enough power with this machine, right? There's just not enough power. It's the tool is the problem. The tool is the problem. Yeah, that's what we're gonna leave for today. The tool is the problem. The tool is the problem. Talent is not the issue. Tools are the problem. So I think that like if we were still in a commercial setting where we're trying to do true recipe development for more gas, I think there's some interesting possibilities here. Like there's a nice, gosh, that's the longer we take with this and like step away from it for a few minutes and then come back to taste it, there's actually and I was saying a few moments ago that the cocoa powder might be too much, it might clash, but I don't know. And now that I'm sitting here babbling about the tool being the problem and then coming back to this with that last sip, it's kind of got like this really light. It's a nicely sweet with a nice kind of blend of this sweet potato flavor that is mixed with like chocolate milk because this espresso is very cocoa powder forward. Wow, it's actually kind of nice. I think if you serve this to people, they'd be very intrigued. I think it's a very intriguing flavor. I don't know if it's a latte size flavor. Like 6 ounce is plenty, I think, for these kind of drinks. But then again, I'm the kind of person that likes to drink smaller drinks. Like I don't necessarily need. Okay. So the other day when I was at the donut shop, okay, I bought a 16 ounce coffee, like a plain 16, or maybe and okay, so I drank most of that coffee. Maybe I drank 14 ounces of it, but that's with donuts, so it's a different thing. Neil says, what machine do you use in your shop or future shop? So typically over the years, we've used La Marzocco, almost exclusively La Marzocco Lineas, actually only Lineas. Over the years, I've been involved with La Marzocco. A lot of new machines came out, the GS5, the GS, what is the 5? It came out in 2005 or 2007, it came out. Something 5, now I can't remember the name of it. Anyway, it came out. So there was the Linea, there was the FB70, which is the nicer bodied Linea, and then there was the FB70. Then there was the GB5, and then the GB5 had the variant with a nicer body called the FB80. I actually didn't really like the industrial design of the GB5. It looked too monolithic to me. But that was the next machine, and then I think they came out with the Strata in 2011. Was the Strata, which I thought was cool looking, like it was a nice step forward in design, but it's very electronic heavy. And so there was a lot of issues the first couple of years with that. So we never bought one. But what I liked about the Linea is that the Linea is a very high performance machine. It's very, very basic especially compared to modern machines. Like if we were to compare the La Marzocco Linea that I like to use to Anton's new espresso machine at home, it's super like basic. It's like here's some like mechanical temperature controls versus Anton's super high tech festool level, technological genius kind of like machine, right? So very different machine. But the nice thing about the Linea is that, and I've actually had this experience personally, is that it's a battle tank. It will run and operate and deliver consistent results, meaning that it will generate the right amount of steam. It will do whatever you set it to. It will generate the right temperature of water at the right pressure under practically any circumstance. Like we've had machines that had like some technical, like mechanical issues with them, like because we were kind of like, I was kind of deficient in the maintenance of them at one point, and like they were leaking and they were like, had all these kind of weird quirks to them, but still pounding out the drinks like nonstop. It just will not quit. Like, for example, if I took this machine and granted, it's only a one group, but I could take our Lineas and open both steam valves to full blast, hit all 3 brew buttons, and it would not, and you would see the gauges. They would like flutter a little bit, right? But it would regulate itself back to like delivering full pressure on the wands and full pressure on the group heads. And I could leave it like that for like 5 minutes and still would not lose. So that's the difference between like, and if I did that with this, I think it would nosedive fairly quickly, comparatively speaking. So no, that's not to say that necessarily the other machines that are out there, let's say Espresso or Slayer or Nova Simonelli and all of them, not to say that they're not capable of doing that. They're very much are very capable of doing that. But I just have always liked La Marzocco when and this is back in the days when La Marzocco was still very much the underdog company. And Ken Baki had just bought them not too long before that. And you know, it was kind of like the scrappy young days. But for the new shop, I mean, we'll probably if we decide to do espresso for regular service, then it'll still be I still have 2 lineas in storage, so we'll use the lineas again because I think, and what I like about the lineas is that they just don't require too much futzing. Like they've all been upgraded with, you know, PID controllers, which I think is all you really need. Like you could use all the other stuff. Like there's so many gadgets out there that you can control your pressure rate and all this, and like you could control like, you know, how much pressure do you give it, and throughout the entire like brew cycle. I'm a little bit more straightforward than that, right? Peter says a pinch of salt will fix it. Oh, that's a good idea. A pinch of salt. Reminds me of a place where there used to be in New York City a place called Dash of Salt. Really fancy Chinese restaurant. And many years ago, back in the late 80s or maybe early 90s, we were in New York City because it was my uncle's birthday. And all my cousins were there. So my cousins and I were running around the city doing our thing, right? We're hanging. We're like just going places, right? As kids do. And like the plan was meet at Dish of Salt. Dish of Salt was called. Dish of Salt. Meet at Dish of Salt at, let's say, like 6:30. Be there at 6:30. Okay, so everybody had to be back to this place. It was kind of close to Times Square. It's a Chinese restaurant, right? So we grew up, Filipino people, you know. Chinese restaurants were like great family meals. You sit down, you order all this food, and everybody's like attacking, right? Fabulous. We're like, all right, we're gonna go. Like we put off eating because we're like, oh, we're gonna go get Chinese, right? Like it's my cousin's father. I was like, dude, your dad's gonna like, we're gonna roll, right? We're gonna roll. So we get to this restaurant. It's Chinese fine dining, which means it's like plated. And we sat there. We were hungry. We were hungry too. We were ready to pound on this food, pound on it. And we got there, and they sat us all down, and it's plated. We're like, what the hell? And look at each other like, what the hell is this? Like, this is some book. It's like, this is ridiculous. Where's the food? Like, and then they brought out like the Peking duck, right? The Peking duck. And you know how you get the Peking duck? You get the little like bow with it. You put the hoisin sauce. You put the skin. Well, it was already done. It was like, what? Imagine, like, you know, you're 18 years old. You're like, what the hell is this, man? Like, we're so hungry. So since we're in Times Square, we're like, after we ate, you know, like we didn't say it. After we were all like, dude, you hungry? Hell yeah, I'm still hungry. There's a Roy Rogers next door. We went to Roy Rogers and like bought like more food because we're like, I'm so hungry. It was so terrible. So Dish of Salt. I don't think they're still around, but that was one of my memories of New York City. Proudplant says, if you wanted to do it seriously, roast off a ton of sweet potato, let it sit in milk 24 hours. Good point. That's a great idea. Blend, strain through double cheesecloth. Yeah, and I think that like I was saying earlier, like, or in the earlier part of the stream, the idea here is really just kind of like you're just kind of playing with flavor ideas for potential recipe development. Like I think that's probably the better way to go, where you're going to infuse the milk with the roasted, like, yeah, because this is doing it this way is impractical in a commercial setting. Like if you're doing, like you could do it this way, but it's impractical. Plus, you're also good. The more difficult part here is that you could have more inconsistent results, and and that's a concern of mine. Is that let's say you come in to the shop, you're a guest, and you come in and we have this drink. We have this Japanese sweet potato latte or sweet potato cappuccino, and you drink it once, you're like, this is great. This is great. But if we're making it on the fly, a la carte, a la minute, right? If we're making it a la minute, and each barista's like, getting the thing and scooping it out, and then mixing it like I did here, the potential for large variances, but from serving to serving, become very great. So you may come in, and you're like, you may bring your friends. You'll be like, oh man, I tried this. They had this like sweet potato latte, cappuccino. It was awesome. I wanted you to come down and check it out. And then you come in, and then you're like, oh, it's not as good as it was the last time. Maybe that time you came in, it just had the perfect balance. But then the next time you came in, maybe there was too little of something, or maybe there was too much of something, right? But the point is that it becomes inconsistent. And that's, to my mind, that's always like a major concern, is consistency in how we deliver something, right? So I totally hear you on that. I think that's exactly that. When you get to that, if you get to the point of doing it for real, it definitely has to be. And I think the approach of infusing it that way gives you better results. Will give us better results. Henry's asking, how is Matt doing with his Argos? I don't think he's received the Argos yet. Actually, he would have told me if he received it, but he has not. I don't think he's received it. Right? The Argos is that espresso machine, right? Oh, no. He did receive, because we did a video about it, right? I don't know. He hasn't mentioned anything. I'll ask him next time. Next time we hang out, which is probably maybe today or tomorrow. But I will ask him this. All right? Right? That's the one we did a video on? We did, yeah, I'm sure that is. Sure it is. I totally forgot about that. Power Plant says you can use the same principle for a lot of different flavored milks, like Frosted Flakes, to make cereal milk. It just takes a lot of time and effort. Yeah, not too bad. It's not too bad. We do that for our Fruity Pebbles cappuccino. Peter says, I put a pinch of salt with my Indonesian Vietnamese coffee, cuts the bitterness. Oh, I didn't know it did that. We will try that. Power Plant says you got to have a little dash of salt with your KBBQ. Ooh, KBBQ. Gosh, man. Now you're making me think that I should go get some KBBQ today instead of just having my leftover chicken salad. The problem is when you go out to eat, it's like kind of expensive now. It's like, do I have to spend $20 for lunch? Like, I don't want to spend $20 for lunch. I definitely don't want to spend $30 for lunch. Like if I go to Costco and get the $5 like roasted chicken, I can make chicken salad and be all right for a couple of days. But then you get chicken salad, you're like, I'm kind of bored with chicken salad. Power Plant says Peking duck is the king of all duck dishes. Well, that's because it says Peking, right? So Peking. I like that, especially with the skin in the little bowl. You're like, oh man, that is so nice. You're just like, it's kind of like that. It reminds me of that guy in the movie Tampopo. Did you ever see the movie Tampopo? Tampopo, if you're not familiar, it's a Japanese movie made many, many years ago by Juzo Itami. And Juzo Itami is one of like the great classic Japanese directors. And he made a movie called Tampopo. Tampopo means dandelion in Japanese. And it's about this dowdy old woman who has this just kind of like a very mediocre ramen shop. And this guy Goro is his name in the movie. This kind of Western trucker who drives by and goes to eat ramen. And he's like, this is terrible ramen. Gets into a fight with the local hood gangster and, kind of has a crush on Tanpopo, the owner of the shop. And it really goes to this whole thing about eating ramen. You're like, I saw it. I was like, I'm going to eat ramen the rest of my life. And there's a scene there where this con artist is trying to con this cop, and he's eating Chinese meal, and they start to arrest him, and he's like, just give me one more taste. And they're eating the Peking duck, and he takes the skin and puts it in, and he just lovingly eats it. You're like, oh, the last bite he's gonna have, sucker. That's what I think about when I think of Peking duck. I try not to think of dish of salt because that's just painful memories. Peter says, I tell people I'm making coffee for its MSG, but isn't it kind of salt? Is MSG kind of? Okay. Do people freak out? They're like, oh my gosh, don't put MSG in it. You're just too Asian. That's not safe. Naomi says, I agree, consistency is important. Agreed. Papa says, if I make chicken salad, the first 2 days is normal. Then the last 2, I add Madras curry powder and diced green apples. Oh, I like that. I like the Madras curry powder. I like that. Actually, I typically will add curry powder first. This time I did not do that. We have this one where it's kind of like, so it had instead of green apples, like half Thompson grapes. So the green grapes, which kind of adds a little bit of a nice light sweetness to it. Power Plant says Dandelion is Tanpopo in Japanese. Yes. It's a great movie. If you haven't seen it, it's worth watching. I think there's a version of it on YouTube that you could just look up and watch. I think it's a pirate, but it's great. Like it's just super like serialized. Like there's all these different other stories that entwine with it that are really I think it's really a great movie. All right, so there is our sweet potato. Not bad. But we'll be back again tomorrow with some more of the coffee Q&A. Thank you very much for hanging out as always. Good to see all of you. Hope you're going to have a wonderful evening or day or afternoon, wherever you happen to be in the world. But we'll be back again tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern time. Keone says the great thing about living in Thailand is you can go outside and get really good street food from home. Yeah. Thanks for rubbing that in. Appreciate it. All right, so hope you guys have a wonderful time, and see you next time.